We like to think that in this modern age we are more sensitive to people's mental health struggles. We're more sensitive to the needs of the marginalized of society. But these are ideas that have thoroughly been explored all throughout human history and especially in the last few decades. Questions like, are people born bad? Are they made bad? And can they change? Welcome to HTP Storytime, and in today's episode we're going to be looking at a comic book that explores these ideas. We finally reached the final part in our 4-part Wolverine vs. Sabretooth story arc. In the previous episodes we've seen Wolverine's journey from a broken man back to a superhero yet again. In this episode, he's back at the X-Men's mansion to finally confront his old buddy and nemesis, Sabretooth. This comic came out in 1995, and since then a lot of writers have kind of retconned Sabretooth's story to make him a little bit more relatable or more understandable. But today we are not going to care about that, because we're going to be looking at this comic in the context of when I read it in the 90s. All we know is that Sabretooth is a serial killer who's been playing fast and loose with the lives of everybody that Wolverine cares about. Will Wolverine be able to control his base animal instincts, or will he give Sabretooth the spanking that he deserves? Let's find out. The beautiful, the sumptuous Wolverine issue 4. Officially issue 90 of Wolverine volume 2 if you found this in America. I have to give the publishers Meteor Press credit here. We get multiple fold out panels as well as gloss pages, baby. This comic was only R1 more than the usual cover price of $4.95. It's not a massive increase for such a special edition. I have no idea how much more it would cost the publisher to print and assemble something like this, so it's pretty amazing. I was salivating for this comic book as a kid. It's been 4 months since the release of the first Wolverine. 4 long months build up to this book, and every issue had been leading to this epic battle, Wolverine vs. Sabretooth. Looking at the cover, this was me walking into the newsagent. Yeah! And this was me seeing I had to pay R1 more. Ah! R1 isn't that much in the grand scheme of things, but it's a lot to a kid on an allowance. Looking at the cover, we see the cover artist's signature here, Greg and Tim Hillebrandt. The brothers are a very famous artistic duo, and I have a few trading cards also done by them. And as you can see, they have an incredible sense of color. And there's a definitive theme here in the colors they use with specific costumes. It's pretty amazing to think that an artist back in the day could just mass produce works of art like this for Marvel, and they've probably lost all rights to their work. Looking at the comic, we have our man Adam Kubert back in the artist's saddle. Thankfully, after our friend Fabio Laguna did a bit of a stinky job in the past 2 issues. It's so great to see Adam's work again, and there are some amazing panels in this book. As always, we have Ads Watch. We start off with an ad for the Casper movie. Pretty standard. I'm just not sure who the Casper the Friendly Ghost and Wolverine crossover crowd is, as we're about to see some pretty violent activities in this book. We also get an ad for this really interesting Casio electronic diary. I love how they appeal to both girls and boys with the features here. You can exchange personal messages for girls, but you can also battle each other for the boys. You also get an ad for a local Comic-Con event, and a local radio ad with a Marvel-themed competition. But now it's time to move on to the main event. So just for some added comic universe context here, after Wolverine left the X-Men, Sabretooth ended up at the X-Mansion in the care of Professor X, and he was kind of depicted as an anti-hero. Professor Xavier probed Sabretooth's mind and found out that he remembers everyone he has killed, and he has some kind of conscience. He's not just a mindless psychopath, basically. Professor X is now adamant Sabretooth is actually a good guy, just a victim of circumstances, and he can be saved. Not everyone in the X-Men agrees with this assessment, hence Gambit coming to get Wolverine to help manage the situation of Sabretooth at the mansion. I get it. I get what Professor X is saying, kind of, right? If a criminal has some kind of guilt, it means there's still some kind of hope for him. He still has some humanity left in it. And what's often brought up by the professor is, hey, Logan was a wild animal when we found him as well, and he was saved, right? So yeah, let's stay open-minded, guys. Let's give old Sabretooth a chance here, was the sentiment. Of course, Logan doesn't know any of this anti-hero subtext we are privy to, or the professor's current diagnosis of Sabretooth. Logan has just shown up here at the mansion, no one else is there. It's just him and Sabretooth alone. I'm back, Creed. We're gonna talk. We got nothing to talk about, Logan. We got a lot to talk about. You wanna talk, you little sword-off runt? I'll talk. I'll talk to you while I rip your guts out. Not hardly, Sabretooth. Didn't Charlie Xavier explain to you the consequences? What consequences? Of messing with a phased disruption force field. This old containment field has got some mighty high parameters, but I seem to remember Forge told me it could stop a full-grown mad elephant. Well, I ain't no elephant. No, sir, you sure are something else entirely. You should really let your old bud out. Gotta be a sport, Logan. You can't kill me unless you let me out. Logan certainly does not seem to be planning to fight Sabretooth, but he definitely wants to talk to him and, I don't know, bury the hatchet, I guess. He is completely calm, maybe even detached from the situation. He didn't really want to come confront Sabretooth, but hey, here we are. Sometimes when you have bad history with someone, you just feel like you need to talk. You don't know what about, you don't know why, you just feel in your heart, we have to talk, and that's where Logan is right now. Adam Kubert just captures Wolverine's expression here perfectly as he says, "Nothing in the world would make me happier than ripping your throat out, Creed. But I made a commitment to the X-Men, and the good of the team comes before my personal whims." And Sabretooth says what we're all thinking, whatever, dude. Are you really going to let me slide for what I've done? You'll be back. You want your cold slice. You want your pretty payback. Sabretooth shows his frustration here with being locked up and so out of control of his own autonomy. And he has a bit of a tantrum here, to be honest. You ain't no little pissant sissy boy bleeding heart gonna let me slide for the likes of what I've done. You'll be back. It's pretty clear he really wants a fight with Wolverine. And it's a bit strange because we don't really have clear motivation from the start for why Sabretooth is like this, why he wants to antagonize Logan all the time. Because the issue in the relationship is and always has been Sabretooth. He can't ever not be a dick. He just seems to be an asshole just to be an asshole. Logan is feeling pretty anxious right now. He walks up to the living area and he tries to distract himself. He's just sitting around with a literal deranged elephant in the next room. Logan knows deep down that he can't really confront Sabretooth without things getting out of control, right? Which means he can't stop thinking about confronting Sabretooth. Can't let him get to me. If he gets to me, he wins. Can't let that happen. No way. Gotta lose myself in the reps. Gotta lose myself in the speed bag rhythm. I gotta lose myself. We see Logan get a lovely little sweat on. What a cute little sweatband he's got there, right? Then he literally takes a bubble bath, sits down for a steak dinner with some ice cream for dessert. A little me time always helps with anxiety. So while Logan is taking it easy, let's have a look at the side story happening in the background of this book. At the start of the book, we open on Sabretooth watching a breaking news report on the capture of a suspected serial killer. That was an amazing piece of footage, Mike. Can we roll that videotape again? This is the shot right here. The big cop on the right is just about to take a swing. Whoa, that one really caught some meat on the wood. If Linus Dorfmann's head had been a ball, that would have been a line drive into deep center. Now we must take into consideration that accused serial killer Linus Dorfmann had already ripped out the throat of one police officer with his teeth, and that he had clubbed another officer into unconsciousness with what appears to have been a human femur. What possessed this crazed killer, and what is the meaning of his strange obsessions with Wolverines? Little on the nose there. Tune in later tonight for Trish Tilby's special report on Linus the Heinous, right after the late news. So I'm not sure what the writer had in mind here. I assume that this name is like Dennis the Menace or Peter the Walmart Greeter, but those two words don't rhyme. Is it Linus the Heinous or Linus the Heinous? And it's amazing how the media from 1995 and the media today is pretty much the same thing. Always something sensational, drawing their attention. Now back to Wolverine, who's watching Trish Tilby's report while he's relaxing. There is very little doubt in anyone's mind that Linus Dorfmann is a deranged serial killer. But does that give the police the right to brutalize him during the course of his arrest? To which Wolverine replies, it didn't look like he was coming along too peaceably, Trish. I ask you, aren't we better than that? Try being a cop for a week, Trish. Or a superhero for that matter. See, the issues in 1995 aren't so different from the issues today, Here to reply directly to the question is Chief Eamon X. Riley of the NYPD. Thank you, Trish. There's not a man or a woman of the force who didn't want a piece of that maniac. We found the parts of over 20 people in his apartment. There were dead animals as well. A Wolverine that had gone missing from the zoo was in there. I thought that guy looked familiar, quips Wolverine. We didn't lay a finger on him. We had to storm his apartment when he started killing his hostages. Even then, we subdued him. We were playing by the rules. But when he broke free and attacked Officer Mendoza, ripping out her throat with his teeth, well, he just crossed the line, you see. Thank you, Chief Riley. Dr. Sybil Service, what are your views on this case as the director of the National Council of Personality Disorder Specialists? Here comes the talking heads, guys. And Wolverine says this ought to be rich. There are a number of different factors in play here. It's important to note that Linus Dorfmann was an auto-flagellant. He beat himself. He knew he was being bad, you see, and he had a punishment coming. But what in effect he was accomplishing was conditioning. He had inured himself to the pain. That was why the initial efforts of the police to subdue him seemed so ineffectual. And the police reacted in the only way they knew, by increasing the amount of force. Come on out, or we'll burn your whole compound down. We will return with more True Tales of the ATF after these words from our sponsors. Stay tuned for a special late edition of the Late News, where we will continually replay the most violent footage from the Linus Dorfmann arrest as many times as time allows. Regular programming will be seen an hour later. And despite a healthy diet and exercise, Wolverine still can't get to sleep. He's getting to me. He made me paranoid enough to switch rooms for the night. I didn't want old Creed knowing where he could find me if he... Nah, no way he could get out. But something's nagging me, like a fragment of thought that got loose in my head, rattling around in there. Like maybe I forgot something or didn't quite get a joke. What was it? It's got to be something about Sabretooth. Was it something he said, or was it... No, it was what the shrink said. What did she say? That serial killers engage in autoflagellation and become numb to the pain, baby. And at the start of the book, we already saw how much of the electric fence Sabretooth could resist. He literally burned his hair off trying to just push through it, and he barely flinched. We cut to the mansion basement and learn that yes, Sabretooth has indeed inured himself to the pain and managed to simply push through his fancy cell door that's been keeping him locked up. One of my favorite lines here, ha 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 ha, oh lordy pie. But Sabretooth has an audience. Wolverine with a quip here, you know what they say, TV rots your brain. Wolverine suggests to Sabretooth he may want to put some restraints on, to which Sabretooth replies, "What are you gonna do, Logan? Chain me up and lock me up in the basement, huh? Ain't gonna happen, boy." To which no chill Wolverine replies, "That was what your mom and dad did to you, wasn't it? Maybe they were right. Maybe they should have thrown away the key and emigrated to New South Wales." To which Sabretooth replies, "I fixed them both. Just like I'm gonna fix you." So we learn here that Sabretooth killed his parents. I would love to know what Professor X would say to that during their therapy and rehab sessions. So, you killed your mama and pop-pop. How does that make you feel? Wolverine replies, "Funny. I just don't see that happening." And with that, it's on, ladies and gentlemen. No standing on ceremony here, guys. These two just start wailing on each other. Wolverine gets a full-on shot in the ghoulies, and from here it just goes downhill. Wolverine is still clearly trying to retain self-control. He hasn't considered killing Sabretooth since he has so far refused to unsheathe his claws at all. Sabretooth confronts Wolverine. He says, "You were just waiting on me to bust out so you could come down here and throw down on me, weren't you?" Logan claims, "I didn't have a clue until a few moments ago." But we go to his inner monologue. He says, "Yeah, right. Like, why bother trying to explain myself to a psychotic sick puppy like Sabretooth? It's not like anything's gonna turn on the light upstairs. Besides, he might be right." As if he's able to read his mind, Sabretooth says, "I'm right, ain't I? You set me up, you sawed-off runt. But when it comes down to the crunch, you ain't got the guts to pop your claws on me." Sabretooth is actually so disgusted with Wolverine that he leaves him a bloody mess on the floor and just walks off. You ain't even worth the bother to finish off. And seeing Sabretooth about to escape, that's when Wolverine draws the line. Now he's pissed. And he says to Sabretooth, "Step back from that door, Creed, or what, you little hypocrite? Go for it. All it takes is one good slash. Right here, boy." And this is when Sabretooth starts goading him some more. "Get some payback for Silver Fox. That's what you really want, ain't it? Let's see you and me finish this once and for all." Wolverine replies, "It ain't up to me to punish you for what you've done, Creed. It's just up to me to see that you don't leave this room." Boo. And I mean, it makes sense that Sabretooth calls Logan a hypocrite. Logan shows up to confront Sabretooth with a pair of restraints, and he expects things to not go south. I mean, that's really, really naive. Surely Logan knows he would have to fight Sabretooth, like it's gonna get physical. He knew exactly what he was in for. To Sabretooth, we're all just animals, and it's in our nature to behave like animals, to accept it and to respect it. The law of the jungle applies to all equally. In some twisted way, he wants Wolverine to be what he considers his true self. But apparently all that means to Sabretooth is Wolverine should be a self-centered asshole just like him. And I think Wolverine is coming more from a place of we should always strive to surpass our base animal nature and be better than wild animals, you know? We should control our animal instincts. But I guess what does being better really mean, you know? In this scenario, I don't see how not killing Sabretooth is the better option. Sabretooth is a serial killer who will kill again, so, you know. And if we take into account what that psychologist from the TV said, Sabretooth deep down knows he's been bad and some part of him wants to be punished. He's obsessed with fighting with Wolverine, and we see he's not even trying very hard to kill him. He was literally just going to leave Wolverine. It's an interesting paradox we are presented with. Sabretooth is out for Wolverine's blood, but when he sees Wolverine is holding back, he isn't interested in fighting anymore, like a cat. You know? Is Sabretooth trying to get Wolverine to punish him for his crimes, maybe? Who knows? But either way, Logan backing down makes Sabretooth very, very happy. And he says, "It's dying time, boy." I mean, look at that face. And he just starts ripping Wolverine to shreds. And as he does it, he starts listing all the people Logan care about that he's going to murder, just goading him some more. You know, boy, it surely ain't enough just to rip you until you die. No, boy. After I kill you and hang you out to dry, I'm gonna go after all them frails you've been sweet on. And I'm gonna rip them just for grins. I'm gonna start with that uppity Jean Grey, and then maybe I'll mosey up to Canada and do that to Heather Hudson. I really can't wait till I get to rip up the young ones like Kitty Pryde and Jubilee. And now it's clear Sabretooth does not want to kill Wolverine. He's trying to push him into a blind rage so that Wolverine loses control. I mean, it seems he wants Wolverine to kill him, you know, to bring him to justice. Logan is the closest thing to family or a brother Sabretooth has, so it makes sense that with his death wish, there is no one else Sabretooth would rather come to than Logan. We saw the same with Maverick from issue 1. They both have come to Wolverine to lay his justice upon them. And it's an interesting dichotomy. Sabretooth hates Wolverine for acting high and mighty, in the sense that he's always fighting his animal instincts. But he also has a massive respect or admiration for Logan in the sense that he clearly wants Wolverine to bring him to justice. And on the other hand, we see that Wolverine lets Sabretooth rip him to shreds, like his own punishment, his own self-flagellation, like the serial killer, to give him the excuse to do what he has to or well wants to do to Sabretooth. Or well, maybe he wants to do it, because what person wants to forgive the person who hurts and threatens to hurt the ones you love? Like, isn't that normal? Isn't forgiveness the unnatural act in a case like this? Like, I'm all for forgiveness and understanding, but this isn't forgiving your neighbor for walking his dog on your lawn. You know, this person is threatening to horribly murder everyone you care about. And Sabretooth is on the verge of getting his wish. Wolverine snaps, but still desperately tries to retain his self-control. That's it. You've just stepped over the line, bub. You just gave me all the reason I need to stop your filthy clock. Oh, I do believe the little fire plug found the guts to get heavy on me. I guess you're just a low animal like the rest of us. To which Wolverine says, "You said it, bub. I'm fed up with holding back the wild part of me." Then quit your yapping and do it. You punking out on me, short stuff? You pull this halfway malarkey out in the jungle, and you'll be bad breath on a hyena. I ain't lying. You let me walk, and I swear I'll track down every living thing you ever cared about, one way or the other. And I'll make them suffer a good long time before I kill them. Well, fortunately, or I guess unfortunately, Wolverine is a hero, an adult. And he would never... I'm just kidding, he kills them.